much, Alison, for joining me today. My name is Debbie Vilchis Ornelas. I'm with Heartland Song Network today, and we're going to be doing an awesome interview with you for our April Artist of the Month. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Debbie. Thanks for the special honor. It's a privilege.
I mean, low key, I've been a fan for a long time, but it just felt so fitting to do it for this month because I feel like you have so many things that are in the works. And so it's like, what better way to just showcase you and everything that you've got going on?
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, so many people from Kansas City are coming out and being like, we're folk freaks and we're freaking awesome. And that's, I think, the best
Yeah.
part of Kansas City right now. It's the things that are getting me out of bed for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of community organizing that is centered around folk music happening, whether it's, regarding voting or just coming together, creating new festivals like Folk Fest. This is the second year that it's been in. Yeah, so yeah, there's just like a lot of organizing, and it's really inspiring to see.
Another really cool sort of uh, nonprofit that I'm a huge fan of as well is Manor Records. And I know that you're signed with them currently, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've been with Manor Records since 2020.
How did that relationship sort of start?
It started with a basement show in a house
Ah, yes.
in 2019, probably in the summer. It was True Lions and Mama's Boy, which is a band that Sean Crowley and Jerry and R.A. Peter and Quinn Hernandez are in. And so at the time, Manor Records had been in existence for a while. They'd had house shows. They'd had Manor Fest, and it was at this house in Shawnee. And then when the pandemic started, they were creating a label, and I felt pretty honored to be one of the first batch of people to join right away. And they've been so helpful to just the logistics of being an artist for me. Sean has really helped me get shows, promote shows, get my album out, and like print tapes. Just so many opportunities that Manor Records has provided for me and others.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like Sean is one of those people that's going to change the world. I mean, he already has, which is really cool,
Yeah,
but
he's
he's
doing it right
definitely,
now.
yeah. And it's like really interesting because we get to see history happening, as it's being made, which I think is one of the
Hmm.
cool parts about Kansas City currently and like being, relatively like a young person in the city. The expansion and the things that have changed in Kansas City from when I was in high school have just totally changed my perspective on life and just have made me a better person, to be quite honest.
That's great. Yeah. And they just announced Manifest 6, the lineup today. And there's some really big acts that are coming in town for this. So I'm glad that it's mostly local artists, but there's also some big names like Dylan Earl and Nick Shoulders and Squirrel Flowers on there, Calvin Arsinia. It's going to be a really great fest this year.
Oh, I'm so pumped. Hopefully, Heartland Song Network can work with them in some capacity. I mean, we'll definitely, showcase as much as we can. But man, yeah, working with Sean for last year's Manor Records Fest, we were able to sponsor a stage. And it was
Yeah.
just, the outpour of support that happened from the community was really, really, really incredible. Al, can you tell me a little bit about the name of True Lions? Was it always True Lions? What happened there?
Yeah, I could tell you the history, the lore. Initially, it was Two Lions back in 2018, and it was just mostly like an inside joke, not really a joke, just sort of a reference with a friend of mine who now lives in Chicago. But there in Kansas City, there's all these two lion statues in front of so many buildings, and I was living in Washington, D.C., and there aren't two lion statues everywhere there. And so it just sort of felt like such an iconic thing here, but like not really spoken. Like that's not really something people talk about. And there's like some other history there that I'm not aware of, but it just felt like an iconic Kansas City thing. And so it was named after that. And then right before the first EP came out, another band in California sent me a cease and desist letter to change the name because it was Mitch Slade and the Two Lions Band, but he bought like the full trademark rights. So changed it to True Lions because we couldn't spell it or change we couldn't make it like two lions in French or like spell it
Mhm.
differently. It had to be like a totally different thing. So I like our new name.
So do you have your name now trademark?
Actually, I don't because it's really expensive. But the thing is if you start putting out music, I did speak with some lawyers. If you put your music out under a name and you're sort of like within one region, you sort of like kind of acquire that status quo in a way. Like I
Oh,
think I've I think I've put enough music out as True Lions that I've been the only one that it would be. I don't know. I think I've established enough to like kind of be like trademark by uh performing it. I don't know. Maybe I need to talk to a lawyer and get a trademark, but
someone,
I
someone get with Al.
yeah, maybe I'm doing this wrong, but I hopefully don't need to change it again. That would be horrible.
Yeah, no, and you definitely are right. Like if somebody Googles True Lions, it's all your stuff. So that's pretty
Yeah,
rad.
I don't thank you. And yeah, if somebody else wants the name, I would have a conversation with them and just be like, why would you want that name? It's there's so many other combinations of words out there. We can get more creative than this.
Let me help you.
Yeah, yeah. Let me help you find a different name that isn't this name.
Yeah, that's the compassionate way to go about it. I love that. Could you tell me a little bit about, so okay, we got the name and originally it was you and Mickey P. Is that right? Is that how it sort of like
Yeah,
started?
yeah. Yeah, it was the first stage was me and Mickey P, and then Eli Costco joined us on drums, and then Claire Adams joined us on guitar. And so, within the first 6 months, the duo had become a four-piece band. It was more like rock music. I was playing guitar. And then we met more friends and we had, saxophone and cello and just like this really big band, more synthesizers. I was playing guitar and then yeah, just I think that the ebb and flow of relationships, and there's so many all stars that were playing with me that it was like everyone had their own projects too and needed to be going in their own directions for their own individual projects. So then the band got smaller again, and Carly Atwood plays bass with True Lions now, and they also play bass in Fritz Hutchison's band. And so Fritz and Carly are always over. I mean, I live with Fritz; we're partners, but Carly was always over here anyway, so it was really easy to be like, Carly, just play some bass on some of these tunes. And I'm really excited that she's with us now.
That's so cool. See, the thing about musicians that I think is one of my favorite parts is that everybody just holds space for each other to just exist, and it doesn't have to be, like genre based or even specific to one band. It's very fluid in that way, and I think that's just really cool that you've been able to create that through your band as well.
Yeah, thanks. Eli the drummer moved to Albuquerque, and I was sort of I was in denial. It's like, oh, they're still in the band, but we just don't have a drummer right now. But like they still live there. They've lived there for a year and a half. And so in that transition of not having a drummer, me, Fritz, and Carly really leaned into the acoustic folk trio of having upright bass and fiddle. Um, and it's just sort of made it easy to not have to like get any new people on board, but continue playing the same tunes, but just without drums. So yeah, just yeah, it's kind of the music has changed with how the people have changed.
That totally makes sense because you hear it. I got the opportunity to listen to all of your music and it just feels like a natural progression. And that makes total sense that it's a natural progression based off the people and the elements that you're sort of
Yeah.
playing with.
And sometimes Carly couldn't play shows with us, so Fritz and I were like, how can we do this as a duo but be really loud? And that was where we started playing drums and bass and electric fiddle. And I mean, it really started with getting a pickup for the fiddle, like an amplification device. And since then, it was really hard to not just like want to always be adding pedals and distortion and the things that guitar players get that I've never really got to explore. I've always been sort of a rhythm guitar person. I've never been the lead guitarist. And I think playing amplified fiddle like a guitar has helped me feel like a lead guitarist.
Yeah, no, and you do such a good job at it. Like you
Thanks.
definitely embody, all of what to be just a freaking rad human.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, if people haven't gotten the chance to see y'all play, like they truly are missing out. And I hope that, you get to a point where you're just selling out a bunch of concerts everywhere and you're traveling and touring and getting paid
That
and
would be
given the
nice.
respect that y'all deserve.
Thanks. Yeah, traveling sounds awesome. Touring. I mean, just opening for bigger acts for bigger stages is definitely a dream. I would love to do that.
Was it always a dream to sort of have that in the back uh, pushing you forward, or do you think maybe you started with some different type of dream?
Great question. I think, when I started playing music as a kid, I think that just the yeah, I definitely wanted to be a musician, but I sort of felt like um, the way that society is constructed, I was unsure. Like, I'm not even the best at music. Why would anyone listen to me? Or like, I can't create a song. Like, that sounds so hard. Or just like, I couldn't have a job and make money doing music. I just sort of felt like the barriers that are real to be a musician, and it has to do with self-esteem, but also just situation. Like, it is a privilege to be an artist because artists don't make very much money, and if to live off of being an artist is really complicated. And I guess I went down a different route. I started as a music major. I was doing piano performance at Mizzou, and then I switched like half or like a year and a half in and did English and biochemistry and women's studies. I was in school for a long time. I got a master's in public health. I applied for medical school. I was like, I was going to go to medical school. And then I don't know, I felt like in denial because this whole time I've also been teaching piano lessons and like still involved in music and like playing in bands. And I think I sort of got burned out at a job that I had working at St. Luke's on the Plaza, and I felt like sort of disillusioned by healthcare. And I'm so grateful to all the people that do work in healthcare because it is really hard. And I think I just sort of had the realization that like this maybe not be like the place for me to be contributing the best. And I really think that teaching music is something that I can sort of apply like a trauma informed mindset and like to kids learning music, because it's not just about the instrument, it's also just like fostering like a mentorship, or like there's a lot of mental health involved in learning music. Like you gotta be patient and kind to yourself. You gotta like show up for your team, your band, and like kind of problem solve in a unique way. And it's anyway, I love that I made that switch for myself, that I was able to recognize that. Um and yeah, so that was kind of my music journey.
Super powerful because just like you said, to me, music has been a part of my healthcare. Like if anything came out of COVID for me was realizing that music had such an impact on my expression and how I just show up at the world as a human being. And it's people like that remind me sort of to tune into what's important inside and to use my voice and just to be honest and different and yeah, just
Yeah,
be myself.
absolutely. It's really hard to be yourself. I think that everything around us is telling us to do the opposite. So it's hard to hear
100%.
yourself.
Talking about that, you did have a song that you put out that actually talked about don't box me in, don't box me in. It's the song called Groupie, right?
Yeah.
Which is so rad
Yes.
because it literally talks about that.
Yes, absolutely. That song felt like, well, okay, so the first EP called Cute at Best was really sort of a protest, some protest jams about feeling like because of your gender, there's like this gender stereotype that like if you are a femme person that you will be more shy or less likely to really rise to an occasion, or like, but that there's like this the stereotype threat sort of like is a negative feedback loop, and it kind of makes you become that way if you're like if you think that you're going to be uh not able to put yourself out there as much, then you probably won't be able to put yourself out there as much. And yeah, so when Mickey P and I were writing that song Groupie, it was kind of like an ode to like our Riot Girl fandom. You know, Cedar Kinney was just at the Truman last week, and I'm like, oh, I love him. And you know, Kathleen Hanna, but what am I saying? Yeah, there's power in being a groupie, I guess. It's not just, you know, the stereotype. It's like they're musicians too, probably, and they probably know a lot about music, and they're not just there to follow someone else.
That's a really cool way to think about it. You know, it doesn't have to have that connotation that sometimes movies put out there.
Yeah, yeah. Like rock and roll as sort of like a dude's dream to like all the ladies love him. I mean, it's pretty heteronormative also. Like rock stars can be any gender or orientation. And also like is
Totally.
the what are you like trying to achieve by being a rock star? It's probably just like connecting with people, sharing your music. And I think that like being a fan is a really powerful place to be in because like I love being a fan of music. I love seeing people be fans. I think there's no shame in that. I think that you have to sort of let go of any sort of like embarrassment about being a fan because if you like what you like, then like the joy of being a fan should just sort of outweigh whether or not like that music's for everyone or the music is like I don't know. I don't know. People say like they have some shame in liking certain bands, but like if you're proud of it, you'll probably end up liking it more and then you'll be able to share it with someone else. And like, isn't the whole point of this for the joy?
Totally. Yeah, there's already enough sadness in the world. We don't, we don't need other
Yeah.
things tearing us down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally see myself in that. I am part of Heartland Song Network and I'm a co-founder and I'm on the board. And I always have this feeling of like imposter syndrome because I'm not necessarily a musician. Like I will pick up instruments and just kind of play with them. And my husband's always like, yeah, you're playing. That's it. Like, cool. You're doing great. And I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then I remind myself of what you just said is like I am just out there being a fan of people. And that's also necessary in this ecosystem. And so it's kind of cool
Yeah.
because then I remind myself and I put myself, not in like an ego trip, but I remind myself that I am important in this ecosystem. And so then it allows me to just exist and not put, the shame and blame of myself of not being able to be a musician necessarily in my own way.
Yeah. No, yeah, we yeah, there's so many ways to be involved in music without being like the lead guitarist on stage that is singing and has the microphone because it takes a lot of people around that person for them to even be on the microphone in the first place. And I say to a lot of people, I guess we just played a show recently at Club Sandwich and there were some newer bands and it was like their first or second show and they were asking me like how do you get into music in Kansas City, like how do you just like where do you start, how do you get a show, how do you get people to listen, but I had to think about it for a little bit because it felt like there wasn't like one day when it was like oh now I'm here the light switch is on and everyone
Mm,
can see me or something. It's more of like what I told them was this like go to shows and they were like how do you get people to be in your band and it's like go to shows, you're going to meet people there that are liking the same music that you like, or you're going to meet the band members of the bands that you like and then like get them to join your band. But like the first step to being I think a good music person in our music community is to support musicians and go to see them play live shows and buy their records on Bandcamp and don't just listen on Spotify, like buy the vinyl, like go to a local record store and buy a local record and go to their show because that's like what makes it a healthy community, I think.
right on. It's so true. We forget that individually we have so much power. And if we want to
Yeah.
change the or if we just want to cultivate a more understanding ecosystem of this music, then we have to essentially do it ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to show up and be supportive and then your people will naturally probably support you too, whether or not they even like your music. I feel really supported by people who don't really like punk music, and I feel supported by punks who don't really like folk and old time music. Like it's not really about like the kind of music that you play, but it's like if you're connecting with someone or just like providing some sort of like joy or musical relief from the trauma that is being alive every day.
Totally. Do you feel like you are creating music um, with like a specific genre in mind, or are you sort of do you create from a space of like I'm just going to create what comes into the space in the moment?
I think both things are true. When we're playing as a folk acoustic trio, I do want to be respectful of all of my foremothers of like Betsy Ellis, people who have like shown me this specific genre, and I want to sound like that. I want to like make sure the finesse on my bowing is like, is that Ozark or is that Appalachian? Like I do think that those things are important to think about and like try to achieve because like they're the heroes and I want to imitate them. But also, I think it's good to explore and experiment. And like, I'm really excited that we made Cold Gravy Bowl because it was like a different way to present music. And I mean, that's how the tradition keeps being passed on is like people playing the same tunes, but like putting their own sort of contemporary interpretation. I think that we got to keep reimagining music. And I think we also need to keep respecting the history of it too, where it fits. Obviously, like there's things in history that are bad, white supremacy, for example. Like we can pull out the parts like the actual tunes and then go from there.
Totally, that makes so much sense. Is like have respect and then build upon it.
Yes.
It's like stay
Yeah.
humble, but then
Yeah.
also create your own
Yeah.
things.
Totally. I mean, I grew up playing classical piano and I was such an individual musician for so long. Like, I really had a hard time playing with other people. I had a hard time playing by ear. I had to like look at music because my teacher showed it to me and I'm like, this is the only good music is Beethoven. And like, that is so not true. And also, I'm really glad that I know about Beethoven because it has informed how I think about a lot of things. I think there's just room for all of the music to inform how we can just do better in general in music and in life.
Yeah, we're all just learning a little bit by little bit. And I'm sure Beethoven also probably would have said the same thing, you know? It's like we're all just
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah. I'm so curious what he would actually have said about so many things because I don't know, that's like a whole other conversation. I don't
Yeah, stay
sometimes I'm
tuned,
like
folks. We'll have another conversation,
it's like a
part
podcast
two.
episode. Yeah.
I actually do want to start a podcast where it's based off of questions and they're just like these
Yes.
weird, quirky questions that maybe there are no answers to, but we all just collectively sort of come up with, yeah, an answer based off of our own experiences.
Yeah, I love that. I would listen to that.
Cool. Oh, all right. Well, you're invited to my non-existent podcast. We are about 8 minutes till the conversation needs to end. However, I do want to get to one of my favorite songs because I just need to understand a little bit more about it. I feel like, again, as a fan, it's been one of those songs that has been playing in my head for so long. And then, thanks to you, I was able to go down the hole of figuring out who the Roaches were. So
Yes.
I'm really excited about this song because it just talks about the heartbreak, of wanting something so badly and having sort of your heart broken throughout it. And the song that you were able to cover perfectly touches all of those things. The song sounds like it's supposed to be a happy song. Then you read the
Yeah.
lyrics and you realize she's gutted. So can you tell me about first why you covered it and who were the Roaches to you?
Yeah. Big Nothing by the Roaches is one of my favorite songs by them. The Roaches were newer to me. I didn't really start listening to them until like 4 or 5 years ago. But their harmonies, I mean, those genetics, they're sisters. So it's like their voices are so so good, and their lyrics are really clever and quirky and like unique because I don't think they follow like traditional songwriting formulas. And yeah, the tune Big Nothing, um well, it's like it's part silly song and it is heartbreaking. So I think that's something that I try to do in songs is like how can we embody like more than one feeling into one thing? Like can we sing about something sad but it kind of come across as joyful or vice versa? And so I really admire them for their ability to do that. Oh my gosh, and this kitty just jumped up on my lap.
He'd like to be
Um,
interviewed as well.
this is Sandwich, named after Danielle ate the sandwich and club sandwich. But give was
What
great.
an awesome name. Hi, Sandwich.
um, but yeah, Big Nothing. I don't really know why we covered that one specifically, other than we just love that song, and yeah, they just talk about like they think they went into like a TV show and like with like this television like debut and it was going to like change their lives forever, and
Yeah.
really it was a big nothing because it was sort of they became disillusioned by the sort of industry capitalism of like how making money or having to be famous sort of like changes the art a little bit and like our connection to the music, and that is a compromise maybe not worth making.
Gosh, yeah, that's it. It's like at what point do you sort of take off the gas of saying, like, I don't want to be a part of this capitalistic society anymore, and I don't want my art to be a part of the capitalistic society. And at the same token, create art that is sustainable to your life.
Right. Yeah, we still gotta pay our rent.
Yeah.
Uh so which keeps
Rent prices are
getting
going up.
bigger. Yeah, it's just yeah, there's more rent to pay and so we have to make more money and so we might be finding ourselves in precarious situations where we're sacrificing our vision or like who we are in order to get the money, and that feels really bad. Though I really liked recording those tunes on Buffalo. We went to BRC and KCK, and there's a student program where at the end of the semester, the as part of like the audio engineering program, they invite bands to come in and record for free, which is really nice.
That's
And so
awesome.
it's really awesome. And we were able to do that with the greatest planet in the world last year. And so, gosh, I love those people so much. So every year, if they need students to record us as practice, we will totally go do it.
I mean, it sounds so great too.
Yeah, they did a great job. I think that the fiddle is an interesting thing to practice recording with because, like, it just like it's not that common in the studio. It's usually guitars, drums, bass. But I think that is exciting for new engineers to try to record a fiddle.
Such an incredible piece of music.
Yeah, I think so too. It was fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I honestly want to have a conversation with you every day. So if that's possible,
Oh,
let
thanks.
me
Yeah, let's
know.
get coffee sometime. Let's go to a show.
Heck yeah. I mean, there's so many shows that are going to be coming up now that the weather's nice. I
Hmm.
feel like I've just been in a little bubble for so long, and getting out there is sort of the healing that I need to do for myself. And, maybe in the process, I can help other people come out and support bands.
Yeah, totally. I would say come out to Rural Grit at the Brick on Monday nights. It's from 6 to 9. It's sort of like a curated open mic. That's some high quality folk music every Monday. That's just right in our
Totally.
neighborhood. It's so good. And yeah, Manor Fest. Hopefully I'll see you there too.
Oh, for sure. Do you want
Yeah.
to tell us a little bit about what next project thing you've got going on so that we can try to support you as best as we can?
Yeah, thank you for your support. Well, this month we're playing at Boulevard on Sunday the 7th, and we're playing at Rural Grid on April 29th. But really we're still performing our Cold Gravy Bowl set that we had released on March 2nd, and I think that we would like to create a second like installment of this Cold Gravy Bowl saga, and I think we're gonna release another tape. Well, I say I think we're going to release another tape. We've actually already recorded it and made the art for it. We just don't know when it's going to
That's
come out.
awesome.
I'm trying to, how do you be mysterious but also tell people the facts? I don't know. I need a manager. But yeah, we recorded a split tape with this band called I have a really hard time saying the name Einsman. They're from Germany. They're in Berlin, and it's a duo. And because we're a duo and they're experimental music also, so it's going to be half their band, half our band, and it's going to be similar to the Cold Gravy Bowl album. It's kind of the same, I don't know, same arrangement of tunes. So I don't know when it's coming out, but if you stay tuned, we're going to release that tape and probably have another big show for it, but hopefully this year.
Woo! I'm so excited about that, man. It's gonna be great.
Thanks. Yeah. It's so wild that this band from Berlin reached out to us. They were at Mannerfest last year, just kind of on happenstance, and saw us play. And gosh, we were trying to coordinate a time that we can go to Germany and play with them there too, and
Well, I
get them
hope it all
here
comes true.
also. Thanks. I hope so too. I think it will. I think we can. I think we can pull it off.
Well, we all are sending you all the good vibes from Heartland Song Network. And again, if there's anything that we can do for you, just let us know.
Thank you so much, Debbie.